Alright, so the idea is we'll just continue with point to point for the moment. One reason I am doing this stuff, other than just, doing events that I hadn't done, that's one reason I'm focusing on freestyle, because this actually has stuff like targets and whatnot that uh, are in files that haven't been loaded otherwise, that weren't loaded by doing career mode. Also, the way that you unlock sponsors is by fulfilling all sorts of random combinations of, getting a particular position in however many types of this event on this particular type of vehicle. That's how the sponsors are unlocked. So doing classic mode this way should unlock these sponsors as well. Unless you have to do those in story mode, which I don't think you do. Also might put some requirements in for expert, I'm not sure, I haven't seen. I should at this point probably just look at all the unlock requirements. There's just not much to keep secret from me anymore. Anyhow, let's get going. As long as you've got the right tires, we're probably good here. Wait. Yeah. Give me the right vehicle, at least. Don't know why I'd start on the wrong one. But yeah, Buccaneer is not our truck. I do suspect, just based on the model, that the game has a tendency to give you the approximately best vehicle for certain things. Like, I think that the two trucks we had available on the Fury team in story mode were the two most expensive trucks, I think. And I think the truck that we were always given for some other stuff, for the sponsor events, I think that stuff is also... I think it's the same truck that I'm using here, actually. I never commented on it before now, I don't think, but I think that's what was going on. Let me just go straight ahead. It's kind of fun, also, I have to admit, even if it can be difficult, using trucks on the terrain they're not made for. And combined with the fact that it tends to be more efficient route-wise, it is kind of just satisfying taking this big heavy vehicle and just making it fly nimbly over this sort of terrain. This might be a case where it was not smarter to take the red route, though. It looks like I'm really flying out in a big corner here in a way that I would not have otherwise. What I'm doing right here might not be... Oh, I'm kind of cutting in front of a straightaway here. What I'm doing right now might be good. I cannot see what is and is not road. I'm almost to the point of qualifying position already at this point. It is exceptionally hard to see the road in this stage. Okay, those signs seem to be saying, hey, go this way, and that is not where the road was. Yeah, we're doing okay so far, I feel like. As long as the game's doing a decent job of actually representing our position compared to our opponents that are very much on another track. So these trucks look very buggy-like in my opinion. I guess they don't have the raised suspension though that the buggies have. Really haven't done much with buggies in this game yet, it feels like. I really only did with the one event type, didn't I? Kind of a rule of thumb for me is, if there's a road that looks more straight than the other ones, it's oftentimes the right one to take. Like if there's a road that lets you just not turn, frequently that's a smart one to take. This is going pretty astoundingly smoothly, I have to say, compared to most other times I've driven it. Oh, a little too late to... Great. Compared to most other times I've driven a truck on point to point. I didn't quite... I got stuck between and taking two paths there is what happened. Where in the world is this going? The roads can be so difficult to identify in this game. Okay, anyways. Whoa, chill out, dude. Alright, cool. Any different tires? Yes. Alright. Yeah, the only complaint there was really that it's a bit hard to see the road sometimes. It's hard to tell what the road is. But otherwise, actually a fairly fun stage. I'm curious if I do the point-to-points all in smaller vehicles, if the calculus will feel a bit different for which routes to take, because I still maintain that the so-called light vehicle paths tend to be more tricky terrain with better routing. I suspect that's going to remain true. Like, it'll still be easier to drive down a heavy vehicle path. And look at this. Look how much more direct this was. It just brought me right up to where I wanted to be. But the paths tend to be thinner. You'd have to navigate some jumps and so on. But they also tend to, like, go straight downhill, for instance, instead of winding down it, or straight uphill instead of winding up it. And going really fast downhill can, yeah, depending on your loadout, lead to some stability issues with your vehicle. But even so. Oh boy. Look how straight this is by comparison. Compared to that huge bend to the right if I stayed on the green path. And the thing is, these are particularly difficult paths to take in a heavy vehicle. A lot of forks right here, jeez. Compared to them not being as difficult by comparison for a light vehicle. Makes you wonder if I'll feel the same dynamic of difficult... Oh man, I should have taken the red path here, I think. The same dynamic of difficult, faster routes versus easier, slower routes. I suspect so, because in spite of having greater maneuverability in light vehicles, the light vehicles do also happen to be more fragile. And that's generally how this game goes, it seems like. Generally, the more maneuverable your vehicle is, the easier it is to wipe out. So the more precision you need. You have more precision, but you also need more precision. Come on, come on. You need a roll cage on these things. You never know if you're going to fully roll over or not when something like that happens, which is always kind of scary. Nope, I'm just taking the sign with me. You cannot feel the rumbling that I'm feeling with me today, but it's pretty considerable. Just rumble non-stop that whole time. Yeah, look at this, like, with how strict this game is about staying on the road all the time, it's kind of... Let's just go on the path here. It's kind of nerve-wracking taking these practically unmarked paths sometimes. I will say, if you have a green road and a red road that are basically perfectly parallel, both straight, it generally seems better to take the green one just because the red one will probably have a bunch of bumps and jumps on it that you have no need to take. Nice little red road there, by the way. Also, wow, I was ahead by like a minute. If I was even allowed to actually make a better position in this race, then I probably would have gone ahead of a lot more opponents. Alright, let's see if we can finish up this continent, this episode. You know, I just wonder why it says, why there's that one file called My Truck. Why is it My? Is it like the player's truck or what? It's interesting the contrast I'm seeing and I see this is just a clearly better route by almost any definition. So weird how lots of opponents just start ahead of you. Again, I just don't love the whole, like, the entire race is just catching up to people design. I don't really like when games do that in general. Okay, you need to not go too slow, though, to make this work. This sort of reminds me of the whole down the entire mountain race at the end of SSX On Tour. In that game it truly was, though, you just take any route you want down the entire mountain and just get to the bottom of the first. That was the entire mission. This game feels like a similar premise, except in that one it was actually a race, and this one's not. Come on, man. Okay, that hitbox is insanely huge compared to the visible model it has. That's just jumping for fun. There's no reason practically to do that, I don't feel like. No reason not to just... Can I just go through here? Not particularly. Okay, great. That engine is struggling. My god, listen to that thing. I'm still with the pack here, so I'm still passing up lots of opponents. Now, I do understand, on one hand, the idea that it's just more engaging on a long race like this to actually, like, be engaging with your opponents frequently, having opponents to engage with, because otherwise, yeah, I'm gonna awkwardly get onto here, because otherwise, say in that race I described in SSX On Tour, and these really are just parallel roads, aren't they? I don't know if this was actually an improvement. Oh, but we'll see. It remains more straight here, though. I don't know. But everything else was slower. But as SSX On Tour, that race, you were alone for like the entirety of that race. You didn't really have much notion of where you were compared to your opponents, because you all just took totally different routes. Curious what challenges there were for programming that race. Like, how do they handle the AI supposedly racing along in totally different locations than where you are? So here, for instance, I like right here how this should give me a much quicker route to the top compared to the big winding route elsewhere, unless that happens. But this may not have worked out. May have wiped out a bit too much earlier on. So I think we're already at the end. That's the end. Darn. Alright, we'll give this another shot next time.